everyone, so you may be able to tell already that we're in a slightly different setting today. I'm actually on holiday at the moment and I've been travelling quite a lot recently, so I've really been thinking about packing my makeup, what bits to take, what bits I can leave at home and I don't absolutely need. So I thought I'd show you what's inside my holiday makeup bag, and yes, it is quite a large one. I do like to bring a few different options. I'm not too much of a streamlined person. I like to have quite a lot of things with me, but these are kind of the bare basics of my everyday makeup routine and a few extra things that I've thrown in because it's kind of more of a beachy holiday that I'm on at the moment, even though you wouldn't be able to tell it from the weather outside because it's actually raining at the moment. So I've got some more kind of lightweight makeup products, some water resistant bits, and then my everyday makeup bits in there as well. So the actual bag is from H&M and it's this nice kind of sea marble effect, and it's got a kind of rose gold coloured zip and it's pretty large. I think it's actually supposed to be just a regular clutch bag, but I like something that can really fit in a lot. So let's have a look and see what's inside. So I'm just going to pick out things and try and do them in order of how they go on the face, but we'll just see what happens. So first of all, I have two base products and I always like to take two different bases with me, something that's more covering and more flawless looking, and then something a bit more lightweight and natural, more like a tinted moisturiser type product. So I have Bobbi Brown's Skin Foundation here. This is just my absolute favourite go-to foundation at the moment. Can't be without it. It's come wherever I've gone recently, and it's just a nice one for giving a good amount of coverage, really flawless finish, but looking quite natural and pretty much like your own skin. It's also quite dewy and a little bit radiant looking, but it does last really well. So that's just my holy grail foundation at the moment. And I've also got the Dior Nude BB cream here, the Dior Skin Nude BB cream. And this is more of a recent purchase that I've been trying out a bit and I do really like it. It does give more coverage than your average BB cream, I'd say, but it's still very light. It lets your skin shine through, it lets your skin breathe as well. And it's nice because it's kind of in between, quite moisturising but not greasy, so it doesn't leave your skin feeling too sticky, but it looks nice and glowing, nice and healthy. This one is slightly dark for me, and it does blend out if you kind of take it down the neck, and it just gives a nice bit of colour. I did get the second shade because the first one, number one, was very, very pale, and although that probably matched my skin perfectly, I just wanted something a bit more summery, a bit more glowing looking, so that's that one. And I also have a couple of base products too. I've got the Perfect Look Skin Miracle from This Works, and some people like to use this as a tinted moisturiser. It's not quite enough coverage for me. It is a very, very thin amount of cover. It's more of a kind of colour enhancing product, I'd say. It comes out quite dark and then blends into your skin and just gives you a bit more warmth, a bit more colour. So I like to use this underneath my foundations, particularly with the Bobbi Brown one. I think these work really nicely together. If I am just on the beach though, I'll just throw a little bit of this on and that's pretty much it for my skin. It's a really simple, easy product to wear. I've also got the NARS Copacabana Illuminator here, and this I got for my birthday and it's been loved ever since. I really have struggled in the past with liquid highlighters and liquid illuminators, things like that, because I never find they blend in well enough to my makeup. They tend to take it off or leave it looking patchy, but this just goes on so smoothly. It's a really thin liquidy highlighter and it just gives a lovely glow without being too shimmery or too sparkly. It just gives that nice radiant look to your skin. I have been occasionally mixing it in with either my Bobbi Brown foundation or the Dior BB cream, just because it gives more of a sheer finish and then it just boosts up the glow even more. Of course, I've got a couple of primers in here and my makeup really hasn't been lasting too well at the moment. We're going through a bit of a heat wave at the moment in the UK, which I really can't handle. Anything above room temperature is just boiling hot for me, so I definitely need something that's going to help my makeup last that little bit longer. And I've got the Hourglass Veil Mineral Primer here. This is probably my favourite primer ever. It's really soft, very silky feeling, glides on really smoothly, and it just evens out the texture of your skin, helps makeup last a lot longer, and it doesn't dry my skin out too, which I find is a real bonus because most primers seem to do that. And I've also got this little sample with me. This is MAC's Prep and Prime Skin Base Visage, which is, I guess, their primer. And I got this with a recent MAC order, and it's a nice way, I think, of trying things out when you go on holidays, just to bring a few samples with you. They don't take up a lot of room and you can just throw them away once you use them up. And I've been using this now for a couple of days and I really like it. It's a little bit more to it than the Hourglass one. It's more of a moussey texture, I'd say, but it doesn't dry my skin out again. It doesn't leave it feeling too cakey or like there's too much product on there, but it just really evens out any pores, any shine, things like that. So I do really like this one. So I've bought two sort of blusher, bronzer options for me. I've got a couple of cream ones, which I find work so much better over the Dior BB cream, and I have a powder option as well. So the first two are the NARS Matte Multiple Sticks, and I got these quite a while ago, but I've only recently got kind of a lot of use out of them. I'm not sure why these were in my drawer sitting there for so long. I think I was just going through a bit of a powder phase with my makeup, really into kind of setting powders and powder bronzers and that kind of thing. But I've been cracking these out a bit more recently, and they're really nice because I find sometimes when you use cream products like a cream base and then a cream blusher, a cream bronzer, it can get a little bit too shiny looking. But as these are actually matte, they kind of take away a bit of that shine, but they still leave a nice, dewy, creamy looking finish. So I have the shades Altai, which is, oh, broken. So I have Altai here, which was, I think, marketed as more of a contour colour, but I definitely prefer it as a bronzer. I think it's just a bit too on the warm side for contouring, but it really makes for a nice warming bronzer. I just tend to kind of put a bit there, bit on my temple, a little bit on my neck, and then just blend it in, and it's really, really simple and quick to use. And then I also have Laos here, which is more of the rosy pink of the three blushes, and it's a kind of a colour that I tend to gravitate towards the most, and it just gives a nice flush look on the cheeks without being too bright. It's quite a natural finish, this one, and I just find those two work together really nicely. And then for the powder option, I have this from Maybelline. This is the Dream Sun bronzing powder with blush, and I think this is one of the best things I've found in the drugstore in the lower price products for a really long time. And it's basically a bronzer with a blusher on the side, but the colour of these are so pretty. I think there's actually two of these, but I have the Golden Tropics version. I think the other one's slightly darker and it's got more of a cool toned pink blusher in it, but I think this is the nicer one. The bronzer in this is really standout, and I think it may be something that some people like, some people don't. It's a very, very sheer formula, so you do have to sit there and build it up for quite a long time, but I prefer that when it comes to bronzers because then you're never going to run the risk of putting too much on, and it's a nice reddy undertone colour, so it doesn't look orange, it doesn't look dirty or muddy, it just gives a nice bit of warmth to your skin. And then the blusher on the other side, probably a bit too small. You have to really kind of dig your brush in, so that's the only complaint I have with this one. But it's a really nice pinky, almost slightly fluorescent corally pink. It's really, really pretty, but on the cheeks it just gives more of a bright flush. And I have heard some people compare this to Tarte's Tipsy, which is one of the kind of famous blushes that everybody loves. So I think it's a really good little set, and I think for maybe £4–5, maybe even less, it's a bargain. So another product that has to come with me wherever I go are the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powders, and I've actually gone and picked up another shade, and I know some of you will probably be gasping at that because I'm a big fan of the colour Dim Light, and I use it as a setting powder pretty much every single day, but I went and picked this one up. This is Diffused Light, and it's a slightly more yellowy toned, looks generally more like a setting powder, and I think this is the more popular of all the colours because a lot of people seem to have gone for this one when they first bought one. I feel like it's got a little bit more of a shimmer to it than Dim Light, so it's probably best to use more as a highlighter, but I have been using it as a setting powder and it still gives a very similar effect. It just makes your makeup look nice and radiant, but it does set it down. I still don't know if I prefer it over Dim Light, which is one of my holy grail absolute must-have products, but I'll persevere and continue using it and see which one I prefer. But at the moment, just a really great setting powder. I've got a couple of concealer products in here. First one, Origin's Plantscription. I won't really go into it because I know you're probably sick of me talking about it, but just the best concealer ever. And then I also have a new product here. This is the Bobbi Brown Tinted Eye Brightener, which is supposed to be their corrector in a more easy to use kind of doe foot applicator form, and I can't be without the corrector. It's really great at evening up my dark circles, but I've actually left that at home. I've abandoned it in favour of this, and I'm trying it out. I'm still not sure if it's absolutely the same, but it's a very thin, lightweight texture, so it's very different in how you apply it. It's definitely not as pigmented, so you don't get quite as much balancing out of the dark circles, but I think it works in a very similar way, and it's nice to be able to have it in a slightly more hygienic form and, you know, easy to travel with. So I do really like this at the moment. It's a little bit more hydrating as well, I will say, so if you have slightly drier under eyes, this may be the better of the two to go for. Onto a few eye bits. I also have my brow products in here, and this is a little MAC palette that I made up a while ago, and it's basically got Omega and Charcoal Brown in it, and I've really gone back into using powder products for my brows. I still absolutely love the Anastasia Dip Brow Pomades and the Tarte Amazonian Clay Waterproof Brow Mousse, that one. But I've just found recently, I think it's more in the summer, whether I've preferred more of a powder just because it looks a little bit softer, a bit more natural, and these are my go-to brow powders. I've had these for a really long time. And then I also have the Tarte angled brush to use with those. So I think when it comes to packing up my makeup for either travelling or holiday or even just a night away, the hardest thing to pick out are always the eye products, and I think that's because there's so much choice, so many different variations of things you can do and bring with you. So this time I decided just to bring one single eyeshadow palette, and it was tricky narrowing it down, but I was looking through my collection at the different ones that I had, and I saw this, and this is the Too Faced Natural Eye Palette, and I really don't get enough use out of this one because it is a really beautiful palette. It's basically separated into 3 different looks, so they have day, classic and fashion, and these are more kind of natural, very matte shadows, and then they have quite glittery, dark, smoky ones, and in the middle just something quite simple, more for everyday. So it's a really great palette, so many different things you can do with it, so you can either go for very simple, very kind of matte eyes, or a really nice smoky, glittery eye. So I thought that was a good thing to bring along, and it served me well. I really have got a lot of use out of it and a lot of different kind of looks, particularly this colour here, Honey Pot, which is the really pretty gold, and Cocoa Puff, which is a kind of shimmery brown, and then also Velvet Revolver makes for a really nice crease colour just to give a bit of depth in the eyes as well. I'd even say this is probably a great alternative to the Naked palette. I think it probably has more of a range of colours, but it also has very similar shades to them as well, so definitely go and check it out if you haven't seen it already. I think this is my new favourite eyeshadow palette. So when it comes to brushes, I really try to bring just the bare minimum because they take up so much room, they're so bulky. So I only have 6 here with me now. I have the Real Techniques buffing brush, of course, which is just my absolute favourite for bases, foundations, BB creams, things like that. And then I also have the Stippling brush, which is really great with the NARS matte multiples, or any cream products really, just to kind of buff it into your makeup without disrupting any of the base underneath. And then I have this brush here. This is quite an old one. This is from QVS, which I think you can find in Superdrug, and it's just a Duo-Fibre brush, but it's a really nice size. You can do powder with this. I do my bronzer and then my blusher as well, and again with the Duo-Fibre I just find it gives a more subtle, soft look, and it blends it out as you put it on, so that's a really nice brush. And then I have a couple of eye bits here. I've got the eyebrow brush from Tarte that I mentioned, and then I have my 2 most used eyeshadow brushes, which are both from Sigma, and this one's the E25 blending brush, which I think is very similar to the MAC 217, is that what it's called? Just a nice blending brush for everything. And then I have this little pencil brush here, which is the E30, which I use for kind of eyeliner, when I'm using a shadow as a liner on my top lashes, or just using shadow underneath. And I find I can pretty much get away with just bringing those 2. So the very last thing that I have in here, and something that I should probably have streamlined slightly more, are lip products, and I really do probably bring too many lip products with me wherever I go. There's always a ton at the bottom of my bag. I just can't be without at least a handful of them. So I've got 7 of them here, and I try to bring one of every shade, I guess. So I have a pink here. This is NARS Shap. I'm not sure how to pronounce that one properly. This is a really beautiful electric pink, and it's the first NARS lipstick I've actually tried, and the formula of this is amazing, so I really like that one. And then I have more of a coral. This is Vegas Bolt, and I've talked about this quite a lot recently too. It's one of my favourite summer colours. I have a similar one here too. This is Revlon's Juicy Papaya, and I think this is probably my most worn lip colour. Very similar to Vegas Bolt, but it's definitely more of a balm, so it's a lot sheerer. It's a really nice natural lip colour, that one. And I also have another balm. This one I actually picked up while I was here, so it didn't come all the way with me. And this is one of the new Maybelline Baby Lips Electro range, and I think these are called the Neons in the States. And I've been looking out for these for quite a while because they look really pretty. This one's a bright pink. It's called Strike a Rose. It's a really nice bright pink, but it does come out a little bit sheerer on the lips, so not too intense, just a nice tinted balm, and they are really nice balms, I think, the Maybelline Baby Lips. And then I have another one from Maybelline. I have a lip gloss. This is the shade Glorious Grapefruit in the colour Sensational Shine Glosses. I've talked quite a lot about these as well. I really like these as a lip gloss. And then I have a red, of course. I have to bring a red lipstick with me wherever I go. This is Red Square from NARS. This is my favourite red lipstick, I think, at the moment. This is one of their Velvet Matte Lip Pencils. Really handy to have because they're so simple to put on. And then last of all, take a breath. I have this one here from Kiko. This is probably one of my newer purchased lipsticks. It's actually what I'm wearing on my lips today, and it's a really nice corally orange red. It's almost in between all three, but it's a really, really pretty summer colour. I actually picked this up when I was in Paris, so expect to see a few more Kiko bits and a few other Paris beauty finds in a haul soon, but it's just a really, really lovely shade, really nice and summery. So that's everything that I've brought with me in my holiday makeup bag. I hope you enjoyed watching that. Let me know if there's one thing that you have to bring with you wherever you go, what would it be? I think for me, it just has to be the Bobbi Brown Skin Foundation. I just love it so much. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all soon.